inner stillness, a powerful strength when life falls apart. There are moments when life does not ask permission before it breaks apart. Moments when the ground beneath what we trusted gives way. Quietly or all at once, the world teaches us to respond to collapse with speed, noise, and effort. To fix, to control, to explain, to rebuild faster than we can feel the pain of what was lost. We are told that strength looks like resistance, like pushing back against what hurts, like standing tall while bleeding inwardly. And in those moments, something ancient within us tightens its grip, searching desperately for solid ground. A relationship ends without closure. A body no longer obeys. A dream carried for years dissolves in a single season. But there is another kind of strength, quieter, deeper, often misunderstood. It is the strength that does not rush to escape discomfort. The strength that does not demand certainty when none is available. The strength that knows how to remain present when everything familiar is falling away. This strength is inner stillness, not the stillness of numbness, not the stillness of suppression, but a living, awake stillness, steady like a mountain that does not argue with the storm passing through it. It is something revealed when life falls apart. And for many who listen to these words, perhaps silently, privately, this falling apart has already begun. Not always outwardly, often it happens inside, behind competent smiles, productive days, and carefully maintained appearances. Inner stillness is not something we manufacture when life goes well. Tonight, imagine these words as a quiet fire in the forest. No performance. No instructions shouted across a distance. Just a voice walking beside you, step by step, as we explore what it means to remain whole in a world that so often feels broken. In these moments, the mind becomes busy. It searches for causes, for enemies, for solutions. It replays conversations from the past and rehearses fears about the future. It tightens around identity, who we are, who we were supposed to be, who we might fail to become. This tightening feels protective. It feels necessary. When suffering arrives, it rarely announces itself clearly. It seeps in through small fractures. A sense of restlessness that sleep cannot soothe, a heaviness in the chest without a clear name, a persistent feeling that something is wrong, even when nothing obvious appears to be. But it is precisely here that suffering deepens. Imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips through your fingers. The mind behaves in the same way. When it clenches around experience, around pain, around uncertainty, it loses the very stability it seeks. Inner stillness begins where this clenching softens, not because pain disappears, but because the struggle against pain is gently released. Stillness does not mean nothing is happening. It means nothing extra is being added. A difficult emotion arises, grief, anger. The habitual response is to label it as a problem, to analyze it, to push it away or drown it in distraction. This is not passivity. It is intimacy. Stillness, instead, allows the emotion to be felt fully, without commentary. But suffering asks to be known, not erased. When inner stillness is present, suffering transforms from an enemy into a teacher. Not a teacher that speaks in words, but one that reveals truth through direct experience. To sit with discomfort without fleeing is an act of profound courage. It goes against everything modern life conditions us to do. We are taught to consume away pain, to scroll past it, to medicate it, to spiritualize it prematurely. In stillness, we begin to notice that pain is not a solid block. It moves, it changes, it pulses, and fades. Even despair has texture, temperature, rhythm. It is not the unchanging monster the mind imagines. We begin to separate the experience of pain from the story of who we are. And here, something subtle but revolutionary occurs. The thought arises, "I am broken." Stillness watches the thought arise and pass. The sensation arises, "This hurts too much." This seeing is not intellectual. We start to see that what we call self is not a fixed object enduring suffering, but a living process. Sensations, thoughts, emotions, all arising and dissolving according to conditions. Stillness allows the sensation to move through the body like weather through the sky. It is felt quietly in the bone. And with this seeing comes a gentle loosening of identity. If pain is not who I am, then perhaps I am larger than this moment. It removes the false belief that we are alone inside them. If fear is not permanent, then perhaps it does not get the final word. Inner stillness does not remove life's difficulties. Stillness in this world can feel threatening. Modern life trains us to be constantly in motion, mentally, emotionally, digitally. Even when the body rests, the mind rarely does. It scrolls, calculates, judges, compares. Silence feels uncomfortable because silence reveals what noise has been covering. Without distraction, unresolved grief surfaces. This is why inner stillness is often mistaken for weakness. It appears inactive, unproductive, unambitious. But beneath its quiet surface lies a strength that does not depend on outcome. Without movement, we meet ourselves without filters, without constant stimulation. Old wounds speak. It does not depend on circumstances aligning. When life falls apart, external control diminishes. Plans fail. Expectations shatter. The future becomes uncertain. In these moments, those who rely solely on external stability feel unmoored. Inner stillness offers a different anchor. It is a refuge that moves with you. It does not require certainty. It does not need reassurance from the world. Inner stillness is those roots. When criticism comes, stillness listens without collapsing or hardening. Consider the image of a tree in a storm. The branches thrash, leaves tear away, rain pounds relentlessly. But the roots, unseen, deep, still, hold firm. The tree survives not by resisting the storm, but by yielding where it can and grounding where it must. When loss arrives, stillness grieves without self-pity or denial. This waiting is not resignation. When confusion dominates, stillness waits without forcing answers too soon. Nothing that arises exempt from change. Much suffering arises not from pain itself, but from our demand that pain leave immediately. From our refusal to allow life to unfold at its own pace. Stillness teaches patience, not as endurance, but as trust in impermanence. It is wisdom that understands timing, and something remarkable happens. Not pleasure, not pain, not confusion, not clarity. In stillness, we learn to rest in this truth, not as philosophy, but as lived reality. When we stop fighting experience, energy returns. Stillness ends the argument. The exhaustion we feel so often is not only from doing too much, but from resisting what is already here, from arguing internally with reality, from replaying what should have been instead of meeting what is. From this allowance, compassion naturally grows. It says quietly, this moment is allowed to be exactly as it is. Compassion for oneself first, for the parts that feel weak, for the parts still hurting long after others think we should be over it, for the parts that fail. In stillness, there is no timeline for healing, no judgment, no comparison. And as self-compassion deepens, compassion for others follows effortlessly. We see that everyone is struggling with something unseen. That harsh words often mask fear. That anger often hides grief. Inner stillness softens the boundaries between self and other, not by erasing differences, but by revealing shared vulnerability. In a world obsessed with winning, stillness teaches us how to belong. This is not because problems disappear. There comes a moment often unnoticed, when inner stillness begins to shape how we move through life. Reactions slow, words become fewer, but truer. Choices arise from clarity rather than compulsion. It is because we are no longer ruled by them. Stillness creates space between stimulus and response, between feeling and action. In that space lives freedom. When anger arises, stillness allows it to be felt without being acted out. When desire arises, stillness notices it without being consumed by it. We see how often the urge to speak, to defend, to prove, comes from insecurity rather than wisdom. Stillness reveals that silence is sometimes the most compassionate response for ourselves and for others. Over time, we begin to trust this space more than our impulses. When fear arises, stillness holds it gently, like a frightened child. It becomes clearer. Colors appear more vivid, sounds more textured. Ordinary moments carry quiet depth. Washing dishes, walking at dusk, listening to rain, all become opportunities to rest in presence rather than escape into thought. Life does not become smaller through stillness. It is full participation without entanglement. This is not withdrawal from life. And when life inevitably falls apart again, because it will, inner stillness remains, not untouched by pain, but unbroken by it. There may still be tears, there may still be confusion, but beneath it all, there is a knowing. This too can be held, that we do not need answers to be at peace. Stillness teaches us that we do not need to be fixed to be whole, that we do not need certainty to continue walking. This understanding changes how we relate to success and failure. Achievements lose their power to define us. Mistakes lose their power to shame us. Everything becomes part of the path rather than a verdict on our worth. Inner stillness also reveals the subtle ways we cling to identity, to views, to being right. As this clinging softens, life feels lighter. Interactions become less defensive. Listening deepens. This does not make us invisible. It makes us authentic. We stop needing to dominate conversations or convince others of our perspective. We become curious rather than combative. Presence replaces performance. People sense when someone is rooted in stillness. There is a steadiness that does not seek attention, yet draws trust. A calm that does not preach, yet reassures. A presence that allows others to be as they are. In this way, inner stillness becomes service, not through grand gestures, but through quiet example. When life falls apart, the world will offer many solutions. Some will be useful, many will be loud. Few will address the deepest wound, the fear that we cannot survive what we are feeling. It promises that pain can be met without losing ourselves. Inner stillness answers this fear without words. It does not promise that pain will end quickly. Each time you pause before reacting, stillness reminds us that beneath every changing condition, there is an awareness that remains. Steady, open, unafraid. This awareness does not belong to any religion or philosophy. It is not something you must adopt or believe in. It is already here. Each time you allow a moment to be as it is, in these small moments, inner stillness grows roots. Each time you breathe, instead of escaping, may these words be a quiet companion on your path. Not something to hold on to, but something to return to when the noise becomes too much. If this space of reflection resonates with you, if you find value in walking this path together through stillness, presence, and compassion, you are welcome to remain, to listen again, to sit by the fire when the world feels heavy. There is no hurry here, just the gentle remembering of who you already are, beneath the falling apart. No pressure to become anything else,